see my slide on my screen. Okay. Now, anyway, oh, it's come back. That's okay. So anyway, I was suggesting that you type in comments or questions, and I like to make it as interactive as possible. There's still some people who can see and who can only hear, but I'll leave that to David, who would help us. So I can start, I guess. Okay. Just now, now the other thing is the slide is not moving. David, I cannot move my slides. So anyway, my second slide will show you. Try again. Okay, no, it's still not moving. Please bear with us a moment. Oh, okay. Okay, the second slide actually is what Emily was saying. I've been involved with Hong Folk for many years. And I don't know, for those of you who are in Toronto, you might know of the agency called Cross Boundary. And then some of you may know of CCVT, the Centers for Victims of Torture. And these are places I am still continuing to consult to, because telling you my background would help you understand sort of where I come from. And then U of T, I've been developing the cultural competence training for psychiatrists and other health workers. So these are going to be the content of my discussion. And I think Emily mentioned the fact as well, but unfortunately that is now defunct. Okay. Now, she also mentioned that there's a book I just co-edited called Asian Healing Tradition, Counseling Psychotherapy. So today I would touch on the Asian healing traditions. Next, I show you an elephant there, which is the poster of the annual conference of a society I belong to. It's called Society for Study, Psychiatry and Culture. And this is for the last year conference. This year conference is actually going to be in Toronto in April, and I will remind you of this conference at the end of the presentation. Now, the elephant, some of you may know of the story of the 4 blind men encountering the elephant. You know, the blind men all approached the elephant from different directions. There's one coming from behind. So he feels the tail and says, "Oh, elephant is like a rope." However, another one approached on the side and touched the trunk of the elephant. Said, "No, it's more like a trunk of a tree." And then one of them just runs smack in the middle, and then he hit a wall, which is the elephant body. He said, "Oh, no way, it's just like a wall." And finally, the one who came from the front would say, "I feel a big, it's almost like a cobra." So you can see that different people from different perspectives see things very different. And it applies to us coming all from different cultures. And to understand culture, my preference is to use this illustration of a triangle. I call it the Cluck Hong triangle. Cluck Hong actually is a couple of anthropologists in the 50s and 60s. And he has a very nice quote, and I'll repeat to you, and it is illustrated, I think, in my triangle. "Every man is in certain respects like all other men, like some other men, like no other man." When I say like all other men, that means there are certain universal aspects to all of us. We sleep, we eat, people have children, get married, that sort of thing, like all other people. But like no other man is when you are doing counseling with a specific individual. You'll find that they're so unique that you've never met such a person before. However, we focus on, in cultural psychiatry, on like some other man. That is, in a group, how do these people see the world? How do they think? How do they act? And that is culture. Another way to look at culture is to see that as an iceberg. The iceberg I have there, you can see on top, there's a language and dress and food, that these are things that you could very easily see, and we can call that the cultural artifacts, which are very, very apparent. But culture actually is a big iceberg. 90% should be underwater. So underwater are things like, how do they understand health and illness? How do they look at past and future? How do they use their body? You know that, eh? When you dance with somebody from a different culture, you can notice that they don't move the same way as you. So to make the invisible visible is going to be important. Okay, then I have some difficulty moving the slide. David, can I move the slide? Right, which is refusing to come. Okay, have to get some help again. Okay, thank you, David. So, continuing on the analogy of iceberg, when you see two icebergs approaching each other, you know what happens? On the top, you can see they're still apart, but if you look under the water, actually they're clashing. And they are clashing the values, the thought pattern, everything. And that is when the cultural exchange causes problems. But today, I would like to, okay, again, I think I should move the arrow, is it right? David, to the middle, get the thing moving. No, it's still not moving. You see, I don't belong to the culture of the modern day technology. That's why I'm having some problem. I was using up and down, but then maybe they don't understand my language, you know? Computer has language. Okay, this one shows traditional healing, as you all know. Maybe all know, but some of you know some better than others. You can see that in traditional healing, they really use a lot of different things. They talk about what you should eat, like the diet. I said dietetics, and herbs they will use. That can be their raw form, or bottles of pills and other things like on the left. But sometimes it is a physical treatment, like the massage on down there. And of course, there are also a spiritual element where spiritual healers would be providing service to the mind. Okay, I am still having a bit of a problem. Oh yeah, I know now. Okay, so talking about the iceberg of traditional medicine, if we look under the surface, there are certain things that are characteristic of these things, even though they are from different parts of the world. One of them is that, of course, it is often based on tradition. So to people who practice or use traditional medicine, history, tradition is very important. And the second thing is that they are very empirical. They, through experience, they find what works, that is what they do. It's not based on a lot of science. Or I should say religio-magical. They are the spiritual element that is in that medicine. Often it is also communal because it is practiced in the setting of the community or family. I mean, the idea of privacy or individual is not as prevalent. Finally, there are healers. Healers are people who may have been born into that calling, or they may have to go through certain special admission exam where they were chosen by the teachers, the right person. They go through years of apprenticeship to become a healer. Now, compare that to Western medicine that we know, for example, Canada. Because in Canada, because it's a young country, we don't have much tradition. So basically, all medicine are Western medicine, even though there are pockets where we immigrants come in bringing some of our traditional medicine. Under Western medicine, you know, it's based on science, lots of technology today. And then I mentioned reductionist, but I mentioned that a bit later. That is focusing on exacting precision details. That secular means there's no spiritual or religious connotation. Finally, the people who practice are professionals, unlike the healers who come from the community with specific qualification. So we have touched on the different traditions. Okay, now if you look at mental health and look at Western psychiatry, it's based on something called Cartesian duality, which again I would mention. But very much the Western culture, main characteristic.
I saw the number, what was the number came, which I told you.
Oh, yeah. And that is more important than selective. And then when Freud came along, I emphasized what is called intrapsychic, that is, things inside our head, cure by talking about what's inside our head. As I said, science, not yet, on that one, based on science, those therapies they use now have to be evidence-based. And again, as I said before, all professionals, people are practicing people can only practice with qualification. Now, traditional medicine is no psychiatry because of what I mentioned, that the body and the mind are seen as a whole. However, with mental health, there is a strong stigma. As we might know, a lot of places in the world, mental illness is still a very much taboo topic. Mentally ill patients are very poorly treated. And also, there are certain cultural blind spots. That is, some of us, I shouldn't say a lot, for example, Asian particularly, we have a difficulty handling emotions, expressing emotions. So we don't see the primacy of emotions. Of course, I mentioned gender equality and things like that, which is not always the case in a lot of places. And the knowledge often are kept secret. They're not open to research or publicized. And the emphasis on tradition, as I said, rather than innovation. The training are non-standard training, there's limited research, and unfortunately, a lot of them have parts of modern medicine. Now, I said these two cultures, it seems they are very far apart. However, I don't think it means that we cannot communicate in some ways. In fact, Jerome Frank, who is a psychiatrist from the early part of the last century, and he wrote a book called Persuasion and Healing. And he actually studied in different cultures and visited many traditional healers. They found that actually there are four commonalities between the traditional healers and psychiatrists. One is that the healer has to be culturally sensient. That is somebody who is acknowledged in that country. Second is that there should be a rationale and rituals as to how they do their things. And then the third is that there would be an expectation from the person seeking help and the person providing help. And finally, he also noted that there often would be an emotionally charged relationship. So the relationship is very important. I just mentioned this for you to keep in mind because I'll come back to this later. Okay, I mentioned Cartesian duality earlier. So right now, somebody mentioned that I'm still not clear. So I wonder whether I'm clearer now. The person mentioned that there is a lot of background noise. Is it possible to put us all on mute? Yeah, it's already done, yeah. Okay, so back to Cartesian duality. There was a French philosopher in the 17th century called René Descartes, and that is his idea that has formulated what we think about in modern philosophy, that mind and matter are two separate things. Matter you can feel, you can measure, but mind is something not like that. So the mind and body are very much separated. I think that is why we have special area of medicine focusing on the mind, psychiatry, other regular medicine. However, this Cartesian duality also leads to certain thinking, which is reductionist thinking. That is, they try to observe things in the minute details, as I said, to be very precise, and try to understand it that way. And in fact, that has been very useful for science because science has advanced so much. Now, supposedly we can go to the moon, for those of you who believe in the moon landing, okay. And then also, like medical advances like sequencing the DNA and everything, all these are because of actually the effort of people who are reductionists. However, when we practice medicine or do counseling, we find that the sum of the parts actually doesn't always retain the meaning of the whole. Just like the bicycle here, you can break it apart, but to put it back together is a totally different thing. So you can see the bicycle parts on the floor, and then actually the whole bicycle is something quite amazing. So if it is not holistic, then it would be what? It would be the holistic. Holistic means that whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The whole contains properties that cannot be discovered through the analysis of its part. Okay, so if we are to learn from this and try to practice in a holistic fashion, how do we approach counseling, or how do we approach the person in front of us? I have developed this model. I call it BPSS model for the body, the psyche, the spirit, and society. You know, you can say the body and the mind and the soul, and then society. For the body, that means that it's when we assess a person, we look at their senses, their physiology, the chemistry, their lifestyle habits. That's body part. And then for the mind, their thoughts, pattern of the thoughts, emotion, their memories, their association. And for the spirit, and then we see whether there's a religion, they have any ancestral tradition, their meaning, and the connection to nature, and spirituality as a whole. And then for society, it's their relationship to their family and friends and people at work and school, the community, and professional support. So these are the 4 areas that I would assess if I practice the BPSS model. Okay, now, I don't know, would you say there's any relevance to settlement work? I believe so. You work with the newcomers from different parts of the world. Some of them may be refugees, some of them are immigrants, and all of you work with them because you are all, I believe, very compassionate people. And you, some of you, and most of you may have the lived experience of being an immigrant or even refugee. If not, you may have lived experience as somebody who's in the minority, or even have experienced discrimination. So I think that prepares you to be able to be very helpful to the newcomers. And you probably are also quite culturally competent. So at this point, I would like to discuss what I see as cultural competence. The definition by Terry Cross in 1988 was a set of congruent behavior attitudes and what is that? Behavior attitudes. Attitudes of behavior that come together as a system, an agency, or among professionals that enable the system to work effectively in cross-cultural situations. You see, it's a lot of words. That's why I prefer to look at it somewhat differently. I think that there are 3 components to cultural competence: the attitude, knowledge, and skill. This is what we call the ASK model: attitude, skill, and knowledge. But it's very important that I also put power in the middle. You see, for the attitude, it's like, I think to be culturally competent, you need to be curious, to be open, and to be respectful. That you want to have a desire to connect with the other person. That's a type of attitude that I think cultural competent professionals should have. And then skill, of course, is communication. Even when you don't speak the same language, it's important that you can communicate non-verbally and also through the help of an interpreter. Knowledge would contain all your knowledge about the different culture, their practice, but also the resources in that community, what's going on in that community, and of course other services. And I guess that is where you would have a lot of knowledge. And then just the last part, which is power. So under this ASK, always there's an issue of a power between you and the person trying to help. Oftentimes this power is not equal. Actually, when I talk about skill, actually I forgot the most important skill, which I call reflectivity. Whether you can reflect upon who you are, like what your cultures are, what are your values, and then think of the other person, how they are, their values, their behavior, and reflect on these two. Then you look at the two people and try to understand how is the power differential. How are you using your power? And that is a very important skill that has to develop over time. But with that, I think it becomes the essential component of confidence. Power is also not just in skill, but in knowledge. For example, whose knowledge is it anyway? Sometimes, for example, an refugee comes to have a baby in a hospital, the practice of the hospital may be totally different from what we experience back home. So knowing that knowledge can be very different, and there's a power there. It's important not to abuse the power when we are in charge. Okay, so now, if you allow me, I would tell a little story about a patient I met the other day. He's from this country, Ethiopia, and in this very, very beautiful town, Lalibela, where I was, you can see churches like that, built inside the ground. And then you can see all of them in white robes. These are the Orthodox Christians who come all the way, to worship in this particular temple. Not temple, the church. So I would say that Ethiopia is a very religious country. And the person I saw, let me finish with the story. The person I saw, let's call him Haggai. And Haggai is a 64-year-old Ethiopian man. In Ethiopia, like in many countries, there are many different ethnic groups. The ethnic group he belongs to is Oromo. Oromo are in the southern part of the country, more rural and poorer, and usually not in power. The power belongs to a different ethnic group. So he grew up very poor and also quite discriminated and sometimes persecuted. That's why he escaped as a refugee and arrived in Canada about 10 years ago. There's no much skill for the modern society, so he worked as a dishwasher at a keg restaurant that you might have gone to. For over 10 years, he just lay in the back washing dishes in a very wet and hot environment. And his knees got worse and worse, arthritis developing in it. But he worked hard, and then he goes home to his little apartment. Luckily, he got a public housing. He got his apartment, and then he would study his religion. He's very religious, so his main thing is study the religious scripts that he has. And then one day, the reason I saw him was because he threatened to jump from the balcony. And he was taken, and then eventually somehow it got to me. And it is found that actually that morning, the housing people came to him to say that he would be evicted if he doesn't clean up his mess. And in fact, he has been what we call hoarding, collecting a lot of stuff in his apartment. When he got that threat, he didn't know what to do, so he felt he could only jump. So anyway, after I saw him with case manager, who is a Somalian, very good, we got to understand that. So we are using the GPSS now. Typically, we understand that he is really suffering from his pain, so that he can really lift a lot or move a lot. And then the physical health problem also leads him to the actually not going out or socializing too much. All he would go to would be actually just the mosque. And psychologically, is that he's quite depressed. There's no motivation. So it's hard for him to start cleaning his apartment. And then we look at the apartment and found that what he collects is quite interesting. One of them, there are a lot of broken dishes and plates that he got from the restaurant. Things that people throw away, because he, as a young child, their family is so poor, they collect even a piece of tissue. So it's hard for him to throw these. And then the other thing is a lot of religious script, because he's quite a scholar actually. So he studied these things a lot, and he has lots and lots of. So and then of course he has no idea what is depression or what is psychiatry. So he has no idea why I was talking to him. And then spiritually, as I said, he's so religious that it's a strength. And then the last S, which is social society. He has one friend. So that's how assessment shows us. So what we plan for treatment is also based on the BPSS model. Biologically, I don't think he would accept any antidepressant. And also he can't really understand why we need the pill. But he does need that, he needs the pills for his need. Now, because he has no money for the pills, I have tried to give him some samples of medication for the pill. And then in the winter, it is particularly hard for him. So he cannot travel when I saw him in the winter. So right now, I am asked to put on oh, the mic is a mic. Oh, I can do it this way. Eh? Yeah, I guess. Oh, the mic is here. Okay. You see, I need so much support from people who are a little bit more technologically savvy. Yes, your voice is cutting off. The voice is breaking. Thank you for telling me. But can you hear that? Can somebody confirm that you are hearing better?
Yes.
Oh, the voice is much better. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Did you hear my story? I talked about this Ethiopian guy who tried to jump off the balcony, and then we found that he has collected a lot of stuff in his apartment. But understanding his situation, actually, because we care to ask about him, about his life, he really feels connected to us. And then for the treatment, as I said, under B, we try to look after his needs. He has no family doctor, and he has no money for medication. So I tried to get him some samples from my office. And then later on, we got him a family doctor. And later on, actually, we even got him to a gym. So, that is the physical side. As for the psychological side, as I said, just talking to us, he feels that there is at least somebody who can understand, who would support him to deal with this very, very major threat of being thrown out of his home. Under the spiritual one, of course, we do support and encourage his religion and his study of the religion, but we help him use less of the text and donate actually a lot of his books to the mosque. And then finally, for a friend, the friend, we also contacted a friend who eventually helped him a bit. So by and by, we're dealing with the hoarding problem, and he's still staying in the apartment. So this little story is to share with you what I believe we need to act cultural competently. Okay, so if you do that, then I believe really everything that I did, you guys could do if he should approach you. So I think settlement work is one place where you can do all these together. So in this picture, you can see that you can deal with the body, help get a doctor or something, deal with the psyche, deal with the spirit, deal with society. And when you do that, the heart is happy. And this is what we call a delicious moment. Okay, now going into the last section of our presentation, we're taking a look at other cultures around the world. At this time, in Japan, the cherry blossoms are coming. And this is a really big deal in Japan. Their television station follow the wave of flowers opening from the south of the island to the north. And then, of course, later on, actually the order is not quite right. This is actually a bud, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's all right. Because after the flowers are gone, there's a bud, right, for the fruits. And then, of course, everything would drop off. in the fall. And eventually, the spring comes, like now in March, and the buds are coming again. So you see, this appreciation of nature actually helps the Japanese formulate some of their philosophy, that life is actually cyclical. Seasons come, seasons go. And also, there is a impermanence, meaning things are not always permanently there. To be able to let go and then welcome the new, these are very, I think, useful philosophy in mental health. So that is one thing I learned. And then, when I read the history, they have a samurai physician. This samurai physician is called Kaibara. And Kaibara, he wrote a book called The Art of Living, Yojokun. And actually, there's now an English book on Yojokun. And he felt that we need to have the art of living is to live a flavorful, delicious life. And some of the points that he mentioned is, one is flourishing. He feels that people, if they live on this earth, they should flourish. And cultivation, that is, all these things don't come easily. You have to cultivate it. It requires an effort and hard work. But you don't do it alone. So sharing is important too. Sharing is important, that you would do it with other people, and transcending. That is, all you do need to transcend, go into the spiritual element. So that's another thing I learned. But I'd like to share with you flourishing, which is a very interesting concept in modern psychiatry now. You see, there are people who may have no symptoms. You may know a couple of them. And they may have no psychiatric symptom, but they have a very bad life. They are tired and they don't want to talk and they don't do anything. So even when somebody has no symptom, they could be languishing in their life, day to day. On the other hand, of course, there are people who have no psychiatric symptoms and also having a very good life. They're flourishing, they're working, they have relationships, and they enjoy their life. But more importantly, we must realize that there are some people who may have symptoms, but they can still flourish. And that is a very important thing. So flourishing doesn't belong to people who are totally 100% healthy. It is something that even somebody with problems, with symptoms, can still try to achieve. So this is about flourishing, which is one of the core concepts of positive psychology, again, which you can look up if you like. Oh, that's the other way. Okay. Oh, yes, I forgot this little guy. Okay, that little guy means that flourishing, you know. Okay, another concept from Japan is ikigai, which is the reason for being. Reason for being. Why do we exist on this earth? So it is complicated. I don't have to go into it, but if you look later at it, you may find that it's an interesting concept. And then on the right, the simple rule of ikigai they put down, and you can read it too. They tell me to stay active, don't retire. Okay, that's the number one. Okay. So I'm not yet retiring. Okay, and then there are all these other very neat ideas, and then finally saying that follow your ikigai, follow that reason, that passion, the mission, the things that makes your life of value. Okay, now after that, after Japan, we'll go to mindfulness, which you may think is a very common contemporary concept, but actually it was only brought to Western world when John Kabat-Zinn brought it to Boston, and then he was a follower of several Buddhist priests, Buddhist monks, before he realized that what he learned in Buddhism may be helpful for mental health. So he started the mindfulness-based stress management. So mindfulness to him is paying attention on purpose in the present and non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experience moment to moment. The attitude consists of patience, nurturing trust, is non-striving, with acceptance and letting go. So, now, this is what he wrote, but I'd like to show you a very special person, Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a Vietnamese monk who is now living in Paris for many years now, because he was actually during the Vietnam War, he was very active in the anti-war movement. So he was had to go on exile, and he stayed in Paris for many years. Now, when I talk about that, because it's related to mindfulness, and a lot of people are concerned about mindfulness when they are Christian, because they are afraid of these evil spirit coming in and things like that. So I found one of his books very helpful. It's called Living Buddha, Living Christ, to show that actually there are a lot of commonalities and there's nothing to fear. And right now, you know, up there, you know, the other fellow, right? That's the Dalai Lama, and he's the most well-known monk in the world. And Thich Nhat Hanh actually is the second. Now, I'd like you to meet him now through a video. So how do I put on the video? This is a short video when he was asked, what is mindfulness? I hope you'll be able to hear. There's some technical glitches today, but as Emily said, this would be archived, and you can check out the parts that you couldn't follow. It's on the website of Hong Folk. Yeah. I don't know how loud is Thich Nhat Hanh's voice. Now, if it is difficult, I can move on, I think, to the second part, okay? No, I think there is, he's back again. Yeah, I think I can hear that now, yeah. Oh. Again, he could not hear his voice. Okay. Looking at the time, I think I might just move on. The second part, which is also something from something Chinese. You can see this little monk was trying to do Qigong. Now, Qigong is a type of exercise that's handed down in the Chinese culture through thousands of years. In fact, one of the earliest tombs from the excavation of an archaeologist, they found diagrams of Qigong. And so, basically, Qigong is three things. It's certain exercise with your body that's connected to your breathing. So you coordinate your breathing with the exercise. And then the third part is certain meditation, certain ways of thinking. So I will demonstrate that myself, if you don't mind. Okay, we'll see whether this video would work. Okay, stand with your feet above shoulder length and the knee slightly bent. And then we'll start with the video. If the video is not there, I have got still pictures, okay? Oh, well, let me get that. Okay, I can use the still pictures now. First, on the left is when you stand. The second movement is when you raise your arms slowly up, up, up to the third picture where it almost touch each other on the top of your head.
And then make sure that the two hands are above the top of your head. Because at that time, you need to imagine that certain energy from the universe is coming into you. And then the fourth one shows your hand gradually descending that way in front of your body and helping you realize and appreciate the energy gradually going down until it covers your whole body. And when you get down to the bottom, you go up again. And then you do it again. Each time you raise your arm, you would breathe in. But when you go to the top of your head and come down again, you would breathe out. So you see, you know the movement, you coordinate with your breathing, and then imagine when it gets to the top, the energy there coming in. Now, if you can appreciate some of the energy, that would be really nice. And you would do it 7 times. Now, this is a Qigong exercise I just learned a few weeks ago from a master. And he said that it has been very helpful for people with mental health problem when they feel that they are very anxious in a crisis and they cannot relax. So that is for you. Okay? That's from China. And finally, we are going to India. We'll see whether we can get this video. Okay? On laughter yoga. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it's very loud now. Huh? I can hear, yeah. Okay. Okay. Is that the end of the video, I think? Okay. Now, we'll go back to that in a moment, okay? So actually, this laughter yoga was developed by a doctor just about 30 years ago in India. Dr. Katari. He wrote a book, and the name of the title of the book is "Laugh for No Reason." And it's found that actually, even when you laugh for no reason, actually physiologically and psychologically it helps. And I hope you would try it, and I'm trying to find some place here in Toronto that I can do that too. So that is another little snippet from, Asia that I think may be of interest to you. Now, I just realized that you may have missed certain parts in the beginning, and I also just realized that I have a lot of time because you were so have such a problem dealing with the sound and everything. I did not get any question from you. So now is a request from me whether there's any part that I've done that you may not be able to catch, you'd like me to go over a little bit. So please write to me and say what you want. Because otherwise, you see, as I was trying to say in the beginning, if you don't give me questions, it would be a very short webinar. I was hoping that we can communicate, we can interact. You see, for me, it's so important to have the S element, the social element. Otherwise, I don't work very well, as you can see. So please, write something to me. I don't know how many there are of you there, but if none of you respond to my request, oh, good. Somebody said, what's in the video by Thich Nhat Hanh? Can you summarize the essence? Actually, I think we can do it again because it was quite broken. Is it okay, David, to do one of the video again? The one with the monk? Now, let me see. I go back there. Yeah. Okay. If it is possible, we go back to Thich Nhat Hanh, which is so nice because I really like his Vietnamese accent, actually. And also, it is so calm, so peaceful, so sweet, actually. So, you are asking for showing the slide on mindfulness. Yes, that's what we're trying to do. But if it is not possible,
I can still speak? Oh, okay, I can continue to talk, okay. So we'll try to get the video for you. And this video, actually you can get from YouTube. Here's hundreds of videos on YouTube. I just chose this one because it is a very nice, simple explanation of mindfulness, which you may not get sometimes when you just look at mindfulness video on the YouTube, other mindfulness video. And in fact, some of the videos are good though. You can actually learn mindfulness from just following the video. And this is something I often ask my patients to do, to follow those videos that they like. Twice a day, morning one time, evening one time. It makes the day so much better. So I think David is trying to get it through the address of the video. I think it's coming. Oh. Meanwhile, you have another question about flourishing. After Thich Nhat Hanh.
To be aware of what is going on and what is there. And the object of your mindfulness can be anything. You can look at the sky, you breathe in, and you say, breathing in, I know I'm aware of the blue sky. So you are mindful of the blue sky. The blue sky becomes the object of your mindfulness. Breathing out, I smile to the blue sky. This is another kind of practice. And first of all, you recognize the blue sky as existing. And if you continue the practice, you see that the blue sky is wonderful. And it may be that you have lived 30 years, 40 years, but you have never seen and touched the blue sky that deeply. And touching the blue sky is also to come into contact with one of the wonders of life. And touching the blue sky can make you very happy. And you can touch the beautiful sunrise, you can touch the beautiful people around you, you can touch the songs of the birds, the luxurious vegetation, the cherry blossoms. There are plenty of things that are wonderful around you and even in yourself. Like you have eyes in good condition. You need only to open your eyes in order to see the blue sky and all kinds of forms and colors. And you know that your eyes in good condition is one of the conditions that can make you happy right here, right now. You have a heart that still functions normally. Having a heart that still functions normally is a wonderful thing. And when you touch these positive things, you can be very happy right now. you cherish these wonders of life that are available, and you come to realize that conditions for your happiness are more than enough for you to be happy right here and right now. You don't have to run anymore for other conditions of happiness. So the Buddha advised us to be mindful of what is going on. Firstly, because by doing so, you have a chance to realize that there are plenty of conditions for you to be happy right here, right now. And if you recognize these conditions, you can be happy, and you will stop running. Stop running is very important, because many of us are still running. We have run for our whole life, and we have the impression that we have not got what we want. And the practice of mindfulness help us to stop running, to realize that happiness is possible in the here and the now, so that you can nourish yourself and heal yourself. Because boiling some water and making something.
That's okay. Yeah. So tell me how you like it. Oh, I don't see the chat box now. Oh.
Okay. Yeah, Pranita, I really like the blue sky idea. I agree, yeah. Oh, I think it's coming in. So can we move off this one? Maybe go up to the other slide. Yeah. Turn it. Oops. I think we are off. Can you turn it off, David? Can you turn it off now? Because it's finished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I go up the. Okay. Yeah. I hear some sound. I guess I still hear Thich Nhat Hanh's sound, and I don't want to go over his voice. He's so nice, better than my voice. So, but I think it's a repetition from of the earlier video. So, okay. Okay, I put on the earlier. Oh, the sound is still going on. I see Regina saying that the way of inviting energy and laughing without a reason are very useful to reduce stress. Yeah, that's true. And let's see what else people are saying. All right. Somebody wants to talk about flourishing. Yeah. But I have again got to turn off the sound of Thich Nhat Hanh. If I go over him, it's not because I don't respect him, okay? And also, it's not because I'm running. Like he said, I should not be running. The present moment is the best moment. That's what he said. I went to a retreat with him a few years ago, and it was very nice. And the present moment is the most precious moment that we have. And the fact that I'm sharing this moment with you, it makes it even more special. Like we're just from different parts of the world, different parts of, let's see, the sound is gone. So I can go on to answer some of the questions, but I just want to say that I really appreciate this present moment sharing with you. Okay, but I am going to move this thing to see the question because it's blocked. Now, somebody had a question about flourishing. Can you ask again? I think it was Pranita. And then I see that Sylvia said that the connection between resettlement and psychiatry. Okay. Well, to me, anybody can practice psychiatry. When you're with another person, they need help, you want to help. The psychiatry is happening already, in my opinion. So in settlement work, I have not done it myself, but I have seen so many immigrants and refugees that I know what an important task it is, how important, you are to them. And I think I didn't mention, but actually, you see, when you see that they have a mental health problem, you would like to refer them on to a psychiatrist. But it's so difficult, isn't it? Because, even if they're not refugee or anyone, if you refer, there's a long waiting list. And they may not be the right person because if your language is limited, they speak only English. And when you see them, they talk about a lot of gobbledygook. You don't know what they mean. And even if you know what they mean, you may not agree with the way they see the problem. And even when you agree with the problem, they may not give you the treatment that you think would help. So with all these hurdles, it's very difficult for a newcomer to get mental health support. But when you look at my earlier slide from Jerome Frank, he said that healing happens when you have mutually agreed to know that this is what we're doing. It's a community endorsed type of relationship, meaning that if the community thinks this is a helping relationship, and I feel the settlement work can be acknowledged by the community, a community of other newcomers, or even community among this person's ethnic community. If they can be acknowledged as a helping relationship, then it can have the power of a healing relationship. If you have the emotional, it says the emotion as part of it, it has an emotionally significant experience. That's when I talk about having a delicious moment. That you have this with the other person, that would already make it psychotherapy, in my opinion. So that may not be shared by you or some of other people, but I find that is a very helpful concept to me. So that being a psychiatrist or not a psychiatrist, I still feel that I can connect to another person and be of help to another person. Okay. Now I have to look at other question. There was a question about the second question from, okay. This is from Sophia, right? That was how I see the connection between settlement and psychiatry. Number 2, you did not understand when I explained about the Asian healing therapy and Western therapy, how Asian healing therapy is incorporated into the modern practice. Well, actually, my concern is that it is not quite, not quite incorporated. That's why I started that integrated mental health clinic, because I feel there's such richness in different cultures that we could actually learn from it. So there's so much actually. There's a book called Turning the World Upside Down. It's a wonderful book because really in the so-called developed world, we have so much to learn from the developing world. And it's such a shame that we cannot incorporate more of that. But like you said, mindfulness is already quite incorporated now. We can see how much more perhaps we can have. Okay? Now, it is similar to Christianity, as we say. We are happy and grateful to what we have. Thank you, Lord. Well, Regina, you're right. It doesn't matter what religion it is. This is often part of a very good part about religion. What you say is a gratefulness, gratitude. And gratitude, of course, is one of the things people use for therapy. They even have a gratitude diary, And if you write 3 things you're grateful for that day, every day, that would definitely help your mental health. We need to love from inside out. Yes, Regina. Yes. Thank you for your contribution. And then Pranita said that there are two kinds of people. One that, about the flourishing, actually, I think. What I mean is languishing and flourishing are two concepts I want to ask you to consider. Sometimes, people in a wheelchair, for example, they cannot walk. We did a study, there is a study of all the people in wheelchair to see how happy or how miserable they are. And the result is that they're just as happy as you. The disability doesn't make a person unhappy. They can still have a flourishing life. A flourishing life is when you have your ikigai, as said. You have your purpose, you have your enjoyment out of life, and you are being productive and, following your passion and your values. That is a flourishing life. And anybody can have it. Even people who are psychotic, people who have depression, aside from the symptom, they still have the ability to flourish. And that is what I believe mental health worker has to help bring that out. Now, as settlement worker, you can bring that out too. And before I finish, I would have one suggestion for you. Oh, actually, I gave you more suggestions already. Earlier on, I suggest BPS as my model of assessment and intervention. So if you could cover those angles, you would have a more holistic approach, and that one could be very helpful. So now, actually, Bernita, there are four kinds of people, One is totally healthy and totally happy. One is totally sick and totally miserable. But I was talking about the other two. One is that you may not be sick, but you are quite unhappy person. Miserable person, you can be, right? And the other are people like those in wheelchair. They can have disability or other things, but they can still flourish, just like what we see at Hong Folk. When we do our programs, all the patients, all of them are quite flourishing, I can see that. You just look at their eyes and it sparkles. Okay, and who's the author of Turning the Book Upside Down? Oh, thank you for asking. Turning the world, not the book upside down. Nina, you said turning the book upside down? No, you can't read that way. It's turning the world upside down. He is actually, let me see. He is actually very interesting guy from England. He was the head of the National Health Service earlier on. For about 10 years, he was the head of the biggest health service in the world, but he also visited other parts of the country. And then he realized that there's so much in other parts of the world that we need to learn and use it in our own developed world. So that is why he started the foundation called Turning the World Upside Down. And if you just Google that, you will be able to find that. Okay. You don't have to apologize, Nina, about the world, but I thought that was funny that you said turning the book upside down. That's quite a skill to read that way. Okay. Any more questions? Now, because then you know that we may stop a bit short if you don't have other questions. Oh, my battery is running out. Please plug it in. Okay. All right. But meanwhile, I still have a few ideas to share with you before we finish. But I just want to see whether there are any questions. Let's put the power on just in case. Okay. So the Qigong, you don't have to watch me. If you want to watch me, we can do it again. I don't know whether David can do that. The next one. Do you think we can do the video again? Yeah. Is there a video there? Actually, I don't know whether it's a video. It is a video? Okay. Thank you, Maria. Oh, here? So, it's kind of choppy, but it's still good. You understand it just gives you a better idea of how the exercise is. So you do 7 times of this, and you tell me how you find it later, okay? And, yeah. By the way, doing Qigong, some of them say that it's good to face the south, which I was not doing, but it's better to face the south. And also, it's good to put the tip of your tongue on your upper palate behind the your teeth. And so anyway, it's very interesting thing, Qigong. But anyway, I guess that's all I'm saying. Oh, somebody asked, Sophia asked again, can we get the PowerPoint? Of course, there will be archive. Yeah. Okay, now after the Qigong exercise, and I hope you enjoyed the laughter yoga. If a group of you can do that in the office, of course, you have to tell the manager first so that they don't think you're going crazy. That would be fun, and I may even join you. Okay, because really, in a day, how often can you laugh aloud? Really, you know. So even watching comedy, you may not laugh aloud. So it would be good to just laugh for no reason, you know. Okay, so now we come to some of my last slides. You see my office there. As I show it to you so that you know what a patient sees in my office. And often during the session or almost at the end of the session, I like to do something with my patients, which is to do a tiny bit of present moment. Present moment is actually what you try to achieve in mindfulness. So the present moment is what Thich Nhat Hanh said, when you're only, but totally and deeply appreciate the present. That is the present moment. And he said that is the most precious moment. And I agree with him. So I try to, after our doing the discussion, BPSS, whatever, we try to get them to get into the present moment. And when you look at my office, it's, you may get into the present moment and you may feel kind of calm. But I'd like to share a little story with you. One of the patients whom I've done this with quite a few times, you know what she said? She complained to me that on the right little picture you can see my plant, and I circle a dead flower. She sees my dead flower. She wants me to give her the permission to cut it off. Now, I did not give that permission. Because when you do your present moment, it's not only nice things you see, only nice thoughts or nice feeling. It's everything. But if you can do it non-judgmentally, that is saying that, oh, this is expressed feeling, I allow you to be there. It's okay for you to be there. But I also have all these other things. Just like the plants, you may see this one dead flower in this one plant, but notice all the other leaves are quite okay. And actually, I have more plants in the office. You can look and see other plants too. So if you take in everything non-judgmentally, this dead flower should not be a problem. Of course, easier said than done, because most of us are biologically, we are already fixed in our brain to focus on the negative. That was useful for our ancestors, the Stone Age people. When they go out of the cave, they have to notice the most littlest sign of danger, because there may be a saber-toothed tiger behind the bush. If you don't watch for that tiny negative signal, you would not be able to go back home. Now, however, we have advanced, so day to day, we don't really, have a lot of danger around us, unless you drive on 401, right? But so that attention to detail of the negative type is ingrained in our head. So I don't blame my patient, but especially people who are depressed, they pick up all those selectively. Not deliberately, but they do that selectively. So I'm glad to report to you, after a few weeks of sessions, actually now she says something, oh, actually that flower is quite pretty. Okay, so I think that actually you can have a present moment even with your client anytime, and that is a healing moment. When you can connect with the person, you know that you see them, you hear them, you can understand them, and they feel accepted. So that is the healing moment that you can have in any encounter. Okay, so that is, I think, leading me to say that when you do that and have that healing moment, you know you're not just healing the person in front of you. You are healing yourself. So this self-healing is actually one of the benefits of being counselors. It makes counseling one of the very privileged profession that you can have in an encounter with another person. So I hope you appreciate that and enjoy that. So that's the end of my presentation, but I have to do a commercial, which is a diversity conference that's happening in not less than today's Friday, right? Exactly 4 weeks. It is hosted by Hong Folk in Toronto, and if you happen to be in Toronto, please join us. But even if you're far away, even from India, you can come and join us. Okay, just go to the website and register, and hope to see you there. And then I think that is my last thing, and a last chance for you to have questions and comments. I hope you say something. Let's see. Give you a few minutes to gather your thoughts. Oh, somebody appreciate the Hong Folk team and me for the webinar. That's very kind, and I apologize for all the glitches. Hey, Pranita, tempting you to the conference, eh? Okay, we'll see. And the PowerPoint, as Emily said, would be on the Hong Folk website. It would be archived there. Anybody can click in and see it, eh? Where in the website would it be? Under education, yeah. Okay. Okay, and then Sophia, that was informative. I hope you can use the information, because knowledge by itself is pretty useless unless you use it. Anybody else aside from Sophia, Pranita, Regina? And somebody still want to talk about the healing method on patients. Oh, I don't have a healing method. I just talk about trying to get to the present moment with the person in front of me, which is doing the mindfulness, right? Just like what Thich Nhat Hanh said, you get them. Well, I think the important is sit right. Generally, it's advised that you sit straight, not like me. I'm sort of crouching, and because I want to be near the camera and the mic, but you should sit back. Sit back straight, and then close your eyes. And then when you do the mindfulness, you actually visit all your sensations first, like how your body is feeling. Do you feel perhaps your feet on the ground? Do you feel the back of the chair against your back? Right? And then if you listen, you can hear some noise from outside maybe. And then you may smell something. And if you open your eyes, you may look at things. Just like Thich Nhat Hanh said, you can look at the sky, but you look at the sky in a very deep way, he said. Because it's not just the sky. You see the blueness, and all your mind is focused on the blueness of the sky. Or maybe a few clouds floating by. You notice that. But it's non-judgmental. So you just say, that is the sky existing there. You acknowledge their existence, but you do not put a value on that. So you may feel that, I feel a bit of pain in my back. You say, okay, I have a sensation of pain in my back. And so by paying attention to all the sensation, even a thought and feeling. For example, you say, I feel this anxiety. Then you say, okay, I have an anxiety. I feel that in my chest, but that is okay. It's just a feeling. If I have a thought, I hate my teacher, okay? Then you say, I do have a hatred about my teacher. You allow it to exist. You see, this is actually, you try to get the person into this frame of mind. For me, I also have another one that I could share with you. I talk about an aquarium. I really like those big aquarium for very colorful fish, all these deep sea fish, their color are amazing, and usually they are in some buildings, they have it, and it's very big. If you sit in front of the aquarium, and you try to appreciate the aquarium, do you know how to do it? You don't follow the fish, right? Because if you follow the fish, your head would be moving up and down and everywhere, right? Oh, it's behind the rock, now it's above the bush or something. So it's not relaxing. So you sit back. You look at the whole aquarium, and you see fish coming into your vision and fish leaving your vision. You let them come. You let them go. So letting them come, letting them go is the secret. You don't have to block any ugly fish from entering into your view. If there's an ugly one, let it come if it comes. But make sure you let it go. Don't see where it goes to. So that is how I try to imagine the mindfulness spirit. So if you could do that, it would be the time that you would eventually get to the present moment, because all your mind is occupied with your present existence. And also, Thich Nhat Hanh usually start by asking people to focus on the breathing, which I just forgot to mention. You focus on the air coming in through your nostril. You notice the air coming out through your nostril. You can even help yourself focus on that by saying, I am breathing in. I am breathing out. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. So you describe that to yourself so that you focus on it. So that's another good way of getting into the mindfulness spirit. I hope that is good enough. Any more questions or comments? If not, then what do I do? If not, I do is say goodbye, I guess. Okay, thank you. And I have my email there in case you'd like to contact me. Bye-bye.